Welcome to a new edition of If I Ever Live to Be. I'm your host, Whitney Teal, and today I'm super pumped. I'm joined by Chris Gardner. He is wealth advisor with Arkos Global Advisors, and I am pumped because this is another one of those episodes where we're going to take a topic and really kind of flip it on its head because we're going to be talking about money today. Chris, also you've got a TED Talk that I've watched, which is fantastic. I recommend everyone go out and find it. You were also author of Check What You Are Chasing, which if you're watching the video, I'm holding it up on the screen and I've got a little page marked that I'd love to cover with you too. So welcome, Chris.
Man, so glad to be here. Can't wait to talk about money because you know what they say, everybody's comfortable when you talk about money.
Right? Along with politics and
Yep,
religion.
exactly. If we can cover all three of those, it'll be amazing today.
Right? Absolutely. We're going to work that in. I have a feeling all that's going to be worked in today. I actually think that they're all related.
Oh, I do too. So congratulations, we're on the same page there.
Great. Well, everyone settle in. Ready for the ride.
Uh,
Oh, well, so I'm going to turn it over to you, Chris, because I'd love for you just to kick us off with this concept of money, but also how it ties into generosity. I know you spent a lot of time in other countries, overseas, and a lot of different places. And I would love to just for you to weave in that story and share how you came on this mindset of the way that you view money and help others change their mindsets too.
I love it. Okay, well, I'm excited, Whitney. Love every time I get to be around you. Just love your persona, who you are, and excited about being on your podcast today. I believe I've written this book, Check What You're Chasing. I'm writing another book entitled The Day I Fired My Money, because we give
Nice.
money a job that it cannot do.
Mm,
Um, it's the only paper in the world that when we talk about it in emotions, not in what it is, which is just a tool. And so the idea about money, it's time we fire it. When I talk to people about money, I love asking them, what's your first memory of money? And how does money make you feel? And what are you looking for with money? And it's funny because when you talk about money, it's just a number. It's just a Excel spreadsheet. It's just a number on there. That's what money is. But the truth of the matter is that it's treated as anything but that. When you talk about money, people say security. People talk about security. Talk about fear. People talk about future. They've given this dollar bill a job that it can never do. And so one of my goals in life is to fire money from that job. We've got to literally say, I am going to stop letting money do what money cannot do. Going to stop giving it a place that it was never meant to carry, because money cannot do what we are asking it to do on a daily basis.
that is so interesting. And I love this on so many points. I was literally thinking back to a memory that I had around money. And I've shared the story before in my circle, but also on I think maybe one podcast prior. But I remember my grandfather giving me a $20 bill for my birthday. And he literally told me, if you do not go spend this on something that you want or you enjoy, I'm never giving you money again for your birthday, because I would save it.
Sure. Yeah.
And
And
no,
did you
I
do
don't
that? Did
really
you
know
do
that that
that?
was a healthy place to be at, like that age. I was like, oh, I got to save. It
Yeah.
speaks to that scarcity mindset a little bit.
Yeah. So what did you spend it on?
I went and bought a CD.
Well, there you go. So you did what your granddaddy asked you to do.
I did.
I
Back
love it.
when back when you that was like the only way you could get music. We didn't have Apple Music and other Spotify and streaming devices at the time.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. And that's, by the way, that's exactly, we have to fire money from that job we've given it. We really do. We've got to do that. And so I was 12 years old when my dad came into the house and said, I believe God's calling us to the mission field. And so I ended up moving down to Peru, South America, lived there for close to 25 years of my life. But being in Peru, your idea of scarcity and plenty differ a lot, and your idea of generosity changes. Everything that money encompasses changed for me in Peru. Helped me look at stuff in a different way. Helped me see life differently than most people see it. Because in America, we're like, man, I'm just not doing well. I don't have the latest iPhone. Whereas, and I lived with families in Peru where we were discussing, where I would hear the mother discussing about the next meal that they were going to have. And so it opens your eyes. It opens your eyes to the reality. And then it helps you. In my job, I'm able to help people focus in on what money really does, because we've given it a job it cannot do. We've asked it to fulfill us in ways that it can't. And everybody says that money can't buy happiness, and it's true. But I think we take money even further. We think that money can remove unhappiness, which is an even stronger place than buying happiness. And so we've got to dethrone money from where it's at, realize that it's a tool. And then when we realize it's a tool, we have to ask ourselves, what was this tool given to me for? And I believe one of the key things that we are given money for, the key things that we earn money for, is for generosity, as to make sure that we're making a dent in the world and impacting the world around us.
Yeah. So, Chris, I'd love to get your thoughts on two different things. Number one, the impact of when we learn these lessons and how early those really form in our brains, right? Because I'm thinking as a child, that's just how you hear money spoken about in your home shapes how you feel about it.
Yeah.
And how hard is it if you have a negative view of it? So if you are viewing money in a scarcity mindset and not from the generosity mindset, how hard is it to make that switch?
I would say it's a daily struggle. It is truly a daily struggle. It is a daily thing that each of us have to work on, because generosity it's not even about money. I tell people generosity isn't measured by how much we give away. It's actually measured by how tightly we hold on to what we keep. And so generosity is not necessarily about, and I think that generosity a generosity mindset comes from a plentiful mindset. And
Mm,
we have to understand that we can be generous no matter what our income is. We can be generous no matter what our job looks like, because generosity, one of the tools that we can use to be generous is money. But truly, generosity does not equal money. Generosity is a mindset. It's not an amount, it's a mindset. It's us saying, I'm going to impact the world that's around me. And so, in my TED talk, I had the privilege of doing a TED talk in Wells. And when I did my TED talk, I started it off by asking people, if you could close your eyes, I want you to think about the two people that have impacted you the most. And so I asked everybody, and I paused a second, and everybody closed their eyes. And I said, now, no matter where I go, whether it's in Peru, South America, I've been to 38 countries around the world, been to 49 states. No matter where I go, every single story revolves around one thing. The people that have impacted us the most very rarely have done that with money, but all have done that with generosity. Generosity with their time, generosity with their love, generosity with having a loving ear when people are dealing with stuff, generosity with being a good friend. And I closed off my TED talk by saying, and I'd like you to think about the fact that 15 years from now, somebody is standing up here and asked the same question. If people in the audience were to close their eyes and think through the people that impacted them the most, would you come to someone's mind? And if not, it's time to change our lives and go, my job today, I ask myself the question every day, Lord, give me two people that I can add value to and that I can impact through my generosity. And very rarely does that have to do with money. But generosity impacts lives way more than money does.
Wow. Yeah, that's so very powerful. Um, as you were going through that, Chris, I was kind of thinking, gosh, I can already hear some listeners maybe pushing back on, well, I feel like I've given my time and my money and it was abused,
Yeah,
which unfortunately makes you want to wall yourself in and not give that anymore.
sure.
I would love for you to speak towards that.
Yeah, I love that pushback. I think that's phenomenal. I think generosity is born in the heart of him that gives, not born in the heart of the person that takes.
Mm,
And so generosity is your choice, not their choice. You have to decide whether or not to be generous. I've learned over time that when I am generous, I try and always be generous. And when I'm generous, one of the things that I do, I'll just give you a couple of tools that I use. One of the tools that I use is I want to be generous, but at the same time, there needs to be some work on the other person's part, not just on my side. And so
mhm.
as I give my time, one of my rules is I'm going to give you homework. And so we are sitting there and you go, "Hey, Chris, could you help me out with?" And I go, "Absolutely." And I'll spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes with you. And I'll say, "Whitney, the next time we talk, I'd like for you to do the following three things. And then we can talk after that." You will very quickly lose the takers and you'll find the people that need the generosity and you can truly help them. They're willing to pay the price and to do what it takes to get to where they're. Everybody says they want success. Very few people are willing to pay the price. And so that is a tool that I use that I find to be very helpful. I was on the phone just the other day with a person. They said, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you about this." And I said, "Absolutely." We talked for 15 minutes. I will never hear from them again, is what I thought when I hung up. Because I said, before
Wow.
we talk, you need to do these three things. When you have these three things, feel free to reach out to me again. Until then, do not reach back out. And sure enough, I thought it was over and they'd never reach back out because honestly, when you do that, 1 in 20 people are going to reach back out. And so, but that guy reached back out in 3 days and he said, "I finished those three things, would love to talk. I know you're busy. Tell me when." And I'm trying to help people that my generosity will not be exploited, but will actually be used for good. That's kind of one of my big tools in doing that because that's definitely a problem in that we give, and people never do the part that they're supposed to do.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely genius. I love that because um, it also avoids that our need to be the hero, right? To swoop in and do all the things that someone else is also reinvesting in themselves. But
Yeah,
I I love what you said at the start of that of like it really is birthed out of the heart of the giver. Almost, regardless of what the receiver has in their heart. I was thinking back to a nonprofit that I love to work with here locally in the Atlanta area at Christmas, and you sign up. It's really needs based, but we don't check it literally. Like there is no income question.
mm,
It's communicated that it's need based, but we don't go around checking incomes because there are over 1,700 families that fill out this form that they need help. And it's at Christmas, and they come and pick up toys and food and things like that. And there are some, shall we say, cars that enter the lot where you're like,
yeah,
you probably did not need this from this nonprofit. But I always go back to, who am I to say their situation, number one. But number two, if we put such a hold on that, it's taking away from those families who truly do need the assistance. And then number three, if you cognizantly made the decision to basically fill a slot and take that slot from a family who really did need it,
yeah,
that's between you and God. You don't, I
yeah.
mean, like,
No.
right? Like, it doesn't matter if I'm upset or not. That's on a whole another level that I would not want to be involved with.
Oh, absolutely. I will say this. The funny thing is, I work with some of the wealthiest individuals in this country. I work with some, with ultra high net worth people. And one of the funny things I tell my kids all the time is if someone's driving a nice car, many times that's a sign of the fact that they don't have much money.
Interesting.
Because you're living and you're working for a lifestyle. You're not working for, true wealth. You're just looking for a
Yeah.
lifestyle. You want, so, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
People will have to give account. They have to deal with that. And I can't judge the heart of each and every person that comes through, but I can judge my heart. I love drawing a Venn diagram for people that I got from a mentor of mine. That is, it's two circles with overlapping, and the circle on the left, he writes control on it. And then the second one is matter. And he says, every big decision and every big emotion that comes up in life, I want you to ask yourself these two questions. Number one, can you control it? And number two, does it matter? And in that situation, does it matter that someone might take the charity that didn't need the charity? Oh man, that matters.
Yeah.
Number two, can I control it? Nope, I can't control it. So my rule of thumb is my job is to help you stay focused in the intersection. You have to focus on things that you can control and that do matter. And so in that situation, I have to ask myself, can I control my attitude towards things? And does it matter? And the answer to both of those is yes. So I need to focus on that, and then let God take care of the rest. It's up to him. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, that that feels like such a good segue to ask, because of the individuals that you work with, Chris. How how is their viewership of wealth and how they treat it different from those who are striving to climb that ladder?
there was a study done. I just got through reading a book about it that actually speaks on how people that are generous do better in their business than those that are not. And
Mhm.
it's a public study. I would say most of my clients are generous, and most of my clients see um, they look at money differently. I think one of the biggest problems in the way that we look at money is we say more money, more problems. And I'd say the vast majority of the clients of mine that I work with would say more money, more opportunities. And so it's an
Wow.
opportunity to impact. It's an opportunity to, instead of having the negative view of money, because money, there's nothing wrong with money. There's nothing wrong with wealth. There is something wrong with the love of money. When that's our motivator, when that's what we care about, when that's the only thing that we ever wonder about, it's all about money and the love of money. But money as a tool, it is a great tool. But money is a great tool, but it's a terrible master. It's a terrible master. And so if you're not careful, most people let money be their master. Why do you do this? Well, I have to make money. I have to have a paycheck. I have to. They're missing the idea. Money is a tool. And when it's used as a tool, one of the things I love saying to people is that the greatest ROI on life is a return on impact, not a return on income. It's a return on impact. And if what you have to understand is impact is compounded by generosity. I'm looking at these and in your life saying, I'm going to be generous and I'm going to impact the world that I'm in. Um, I want to believe that if I were to pass away, it would impact those around me because I am generous enough that there will be a void in what I leave behind. That's really
Wow.
what I would love to think. I would love to think that people are like, man, life's not the same. That guy truly cared about others. That guy truly tried to help others. And I think it was Mark Twain maybe that said, the one that adds enough value to others will never lack enough of his own. Um, and that's in my opinion, that's one of the biggest truths out there. Be generous with what God's given you.
That's beautiful. I want to cover the 3 phases of wealth that's in your
Okay.
book. So I wanna go there, but I'll also just kinda plug it in the back of your mind. I definitely wanna get to being generous with what we have, right? Because maybe everyone's listening and they're like, Chris, I don't have XYZ in my bank account. I don't have 6 figures or 7 figures in my bank account. Can I still give? Can I still be generous? So I definitely want us to get to that. But to set us up through that, in your book, which is Check What You Are Chasing, you list the 3 phases of wealth. Then you have budget, which is where you produce more than you consume. You have retirement or rewiring of life. You produce more than you will consume. And then you have impact over income, which is a little bit about what you just talked about of producing so that your wealth can reproduce. And you kind of cap this off with the Bible commands us to give at all stages of our lives. But when we reach that 3rd stage, which is impact over income, we're able to amplify our charitable impact and help many more people through giving.
Yeah. So let's walk through the first stage. The first stage, when you're first starting out in life, I have a daughter that, she works at Target. She is not making a ton of money. At that point, she needs to learn how to use money as a tool and budget she needs to tell her money where to go, not her money telling her where to go. She needs to decide that she's going to live on a budget. So she's got to learn what that looks like. I personally believe in having a finish line. And so my wife and I, every year, we discuss what our finish line is for our lifestyle and for our lifetime. And so how much money do we need to live this year? And we are not Mother Teresa. I'm not living out in the slums of Calcutta in any way, form, or fashion. But I've decided with my wife, this is the amount of money we're going to live on. Why? Because we budget and we know what our budget is. And so I decide what I can live on. So what am I going to live on? And then anything above that, we use that to give away. But here's what shocks most people is this. Generosity, the easiest way to be generous is to write a check. Wait, new generation. The easiest way to be generous is to Zelle money. It's to go fund me. It's not that's the easiest way to be generous. Generosity starts from your heart. And so when you're budgeting, you still need to be generous. You may not have a lot of money to give, but you have time to give. You have a passion that has been put inside you that you can give. And so in that budgeting phase, when you're saving for retirement, when you're ready to retire, you've got to have money. You have to be able to pass the bus test. I have a wife and I have 4 children. One of them is under the age of 18. If something happens to me, am I providing for my family well? So retirement, rewiring, because most of my clients don't want to sit in their recliner and watch the crocodile hunter for the 14th time. That's not their goal. So we teach them to rewire so that they can really impact others. And then the third is impact over income. You're sitting there going, what can I do to impact the world? Those that are generous in the budgeting stage tend to do way better in making money for that impact over income stage. People that are saving for their retirement and doing that, if they're generous during that, it's amazing how they tend to do better and more in their life than those who don't, because generosity is truly a mindset. And so we have to, no matter what stage you're in, if you're in that budgeting stage, you have energy, you have abilities, you can impact people on levels that people cannot with money. So use that, take advantage of that, use that with everything that you have, no matter what stage you're in. If you make $3 a year, you can still be an extremely generous person. You're walking out of the grocery store and you see a lady struggling where they're getting her cart back, or you're getting her cart to her car. Hey, would you mind me walking with you? I'd love to put these groceries in your car for you. That did not cost you $1. Can you imagine how much better our world would be if the DNA of those that called themselves followers of Christ would be a DNA of truly being generous to others every day? It would change everything about the way we do stuff. Instead, we live a life that looks a lot more like a Black Friday, where we're standing at the doors just waiting for them to open the doors, and we're going to rush in and we're going to get better and more than everybody else. And we have to, I think it's a mind shift. It's a mind shift of no matter what stage I'm in, I'm going to be generous. I have Some children that are extremely generous, and they do everything they can to help other people around them, and they're not young and cute anymore. They've got a 22-year-old and a 21-year-old and a 18-year-old and a 14-year-old, but you'll never be around them when they're not thinking of others.
Mm.
I'm telling you, when you're a person that thinks of others, it's just, I don't know how it happens, but you end up doing better than those that are always thinking about themselves. What I wrapped up my TED talk with was, I said, you have to decide. I've never seen a generous person that was sad, but many live like Mr. Scrooge, but want the happiness of the generous person. So let's just decide not to live that way. And it's a daily decision to do that. It's not convenient. It's not fun, but it's what we're going to decide to do.
I feel like I could talk to you like for another 30 minutes on this, Chris. And I felt the preacher coming out, right? I felt like that was a sermon for the ages because it's so true. And the secret, which is, kind of where we alluded to near the beginning of the show, of like all those uncomfortable things that we shan't talk about in like the first time we meet someone, right? Like politics and religion and money. I really think it goes back to that generosity coming out of the heart, but I feel like that points to that. If we're still doing our little nod to a new generation, that's that Jesus glow.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I love when people understand, and a lot of my clients truly get this. They understand that they are not owners, they are stewards.
Mm.
When you understand you're a steward and not an owner, then money stops being a burden and it starts being a blessing. You're a steward. You're a steward of your time. You're a steward of your talents. You're a steward of your money. Every single thing that you have, you're not an owner of that. It's kind of funny, but if you think about it, it's not hard to spend the Joneses' money.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I'm more than, if you ever look at the memes on the internet, it's like, if Jeff Bezos were to give away all of his net worth, he could feed everybody for 12 minutes and then they'd be hungry again. That's a tongue in cheek, that's an exaggeration, but there's this idea of,
Yeah.
man, if we could spend Jeff's money, that'd be great. Isn't it always easy to spend somebody else's money? But
You know that you have kids.
exactly. But surprise, surprise, when you're being generous, you're not being generous with your money. When you realize you're a steward, you're being generous with his money.
Mm.
And so you go, God, hey, this is what you gave me. God, I'm being generous with my time. This is the time you gave me. I wasn't able to wait. I didn't decide to wake up this morning. I didn't wake up and go, okay, heart, time to beat in.
Yeah.
Okay, breath, time to go. I'm a steward, not an owner. When I am truly a steward, not an owner, the most challenging thing that has been said to me probably in the last 5 years was said to me 3 or 4 weeks ago when I was speaking to a friend, and he said this. He said, if there's anybody that understands this, it's a wealth manager, because we charge a fee on the money that we manage for people. And he said, Chris, you do realize that you are charging God a fee for managing the money that he gives you. He said, you have to ask yourself the question with your clients, what is a fair fee for me to charge them to be able to help them grow their wealth, to be able to help direct them in the direction that they're going? What's a fair fee? And we come up with a number for that. And he said, Chris, I would just like to ask you this. Should you not consider the same about the money you have coming into your bank account? Because it's not yours any more than it is not yours when it's a client of yours.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my goodness, that shot through the heart. I was like, okay, that's a big statement. And stewards, not owners. Stewards, not owners. Not a poverty mindset at all. Stewards, not owners.
That's so good. Okay. Before we let you go, I'd love for you to share one tip, and from both ends of the spectrum. So someone who's in that budget phase right now, and someone who's in the impact over income. So both sides of that scale. But what is one thing that each of those sides could do that maybe they haven't thought of or considered yet when it comes to being generous, or even just developing that mindset? Because sometimes I'm like, we got to start where we are. Maybe it's just
Yeah.
shifting your mind about how you're thinking about it.
Okay. So you said that was a message. So here, prep, brace for impact. You're about to hear another message.
Okay,
Um,
let's go.
here's the question God always asks people in the Bible is this: Moses, what's in your hand? And he says, I've got a staff. And God goes, good. I'll use what you have in your hand. David, what have you got in your hand? Oh, I've got a sling and some stones. Good. We'll use what you have in your hand. So for those that are budgeting, what I want to say is this: you need to take an inventory of what you have in your hand. What do you have in your hand? Time, talent, abilities, influence, all of those things. You need to take some time and decide what do you have in your hand, because you always start with what is in your hand. And as a follower of Christ, I believe that we look at what's in our hand and then we go, Lord, let me live with open hands with that which is in my hand. Um, I could have $1 million in the middle. I grew up in Peru, South America, northern tip of the driest desert in the world. There are areas of Peru that if you were out there for too long, you would die of thirst, and there's no water to be found anywhere near it, especially in the southern part of Peru. If I were to stick you out in the middle of that desert and you're about to die, and I had a briefcase with $1 million and a bottle of water in my hand, which one would I be generous if I gave it to you?
Need the
It's not
water.
about money, it's the
Mm,
water.
mhm.
It's not about the money, it's about the water. And so it is. Can I tell you that people need a smile way more than they need a dollar? People need somebody to believe in them way more than they need a check. People need somebody that are going to fight a battle with them and be a real friend to them way more than they need a check written to them. And so in that budget stage, ask yourself the question, what do I have in my hand? And then use what you have in your hand to impact the lives of others. Impact over income. Here's what I'd be saying. I want you to ask yourself this question every time you make a purchase. Will this decision outlive me? Will it echo an eternity? There's nothing wrong with having nice stuff. The problem is that most of us buy nice stuff thinking we own it, to later on turn the page and figure out that it owns us. And so, will this decision outlive me? Um, at what point, I ask every one of those clients, ask them three questions. The impact over income. I say, how much is enough? Because the funny thing is, a person that has $20 million and a person who has $2 million, do you know how much the lifestyle difference is between a person who has 200 million and 20 million? Would you like to take a guess how much difference there is in lifestyle?
I'm gonna guess not that much.
I'm going to tell you that it's the exact difference in those two numbers, and it's a zero at the end. Literally, there's no difference in how they live their lives. And so I ask them, how much is enough? How much is enough for your family? And then the third question that I love asking is, what are you going to do with the rest? And why not start that now? Generosity from a pine box or mahogany box is
Mm,
not near as good as it is to be generous today. It will grow you, it will help you, you will love giving like you cannot even imagine. But do that today, don't wait till tomorrow. And people in my industry are the enemies of that idea, because they get paid on money that is invested, not
right.
on money that is given away. I think there needs to be a revival among people that do what I do, that says, let's start making an impact today, because there is not a lack of money in this world. there's a lack of prioritization in this world. And my goal is to help people prioritize. I want to help people align their values with their money. I bet you if you were to money over here and values over here, they're going to be very separated. My job is to say, does that expenditure reflect your values? No? Okay, well, we might need to bring them closer together. Let's make our values and our money overlay each other. If you were to pass away and somebody got a copy of your bank statement, your credit card statements, your expenditures, your calendar, without knowing you, what would they know that you wanted and loved more than anything else? And I hope that they can see generosity and a dent you're making in the world through that time.
That's hard to follow up, Chris. That's mic drop moment.
Well, you have no idea how much I love talking to you and then just watching. I love watching people when the light turns on and they go, I'm going to make a difference. Not when I have a lot of money, but I'm going to wake up tomorrow saying, God, show me two people who I can truly impact their lives for the better. It changes everything.
Yeah, it really does. And when you think about it, your example of the 2 million versus 20, there are only 7 days in a week, y'all. You don't need 10 cars or 15 cars. Your house, I mean, how many rooms and bathrooms do you really need? How many homes do you really need? When you break it down and think about it like that, I mean, it's like you can't even use one a day if you have 10
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah. You've got to decide what matters. And so every time, and when we lived in a barter society, you literally, when you were bartering, you were saying, this does not have the same value to me as this does. And so you were bartering. You were saying, listen, you might want this shirt. Well, I want that belt. And so you're saying, for me, the shirt is not as valuable as the belt. And the other guy was saying, I have 3 belts. I don't really need another belt. I want a shirt. So you're literally having to decide every time which one matters more, my belt or my shirt. You had to make that decision. In the money society, we've lost view of that, but we do that every day because here's what we're saying. The money, what it could do to impact the world, I'm not going to allow it to because I'm going to spend it on something over here. It's the same bartering system. We've just forgotten it because it's just money, it's just numbers. And so we have to decide what we value, and then we have to live as if we value it. And then we have to make a daily decision. Maybe I'm not going to drive as nice of a car. Maybe I'm not going to have a private jet. Maybe I'm not going to, but that's okay because I want to impact the lives of others. When I pass away, I want people to say, that guy loved me, that guy cared about me, that man was generous with his time, he was generous with his money, he was generous with everything that he had. And that's something I'm going to miss in this world. And what I'm going to tell you is, you don't need to miss it. You need to become that kind of person.
Well, this has been so good, Chris. I knew it would be. And I would be remiss in this moment if I didn't give a shout out to Matt and Buffy Payne. They've connected me with a lot of wonderful guests on the show, you included. But they also run, speaking of generosity, they run a nonprofit, Outer Circle Foundation. They're
Yep.
online at outercirclefoundation.org. They are so generous with their time. And I would encourage anyone that's listening, go look them up because I mean, it's truly everything goes back to our veterans and first responders, which by the way, have already given to us. They've
Yes.
literally risked their lives and some have paid that ultimate price.
That's generosity.
Absolutely. Yes. In the highest absolute form. I mean, the word tells us there's no greater gift than
Yep.
one lay down his life. So go check them out. I'm so grateful for them for many, many reasons, but just one more that they connected me with you, Chris. So thanks for coming on today.
Thank you so much. There's not many people as generous as them, and I love them, and I'm thankful for them. They're very close friends of mine. And I do believe that they understand one of the core principles of what I try and tell people. Your wealth is a tool, not a trophy. Whatever God gives you, use it as a tool, not as a trophy. Buffy and Matt live that out on a daily basis, and I'm very, very thankful for them as well. Check them out. I promise you what they do is impacting the people around them.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Chris, I don't want to let you go without the opportunity for folks, if they're listening to this and they want to learn more and they want to connect with you, maximize that impact. How do they connect?
I would love to always have conversations about impact. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Chris Gardner, and I'd love for you to find me there. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, a little bit of everything, and my cell phone number is 678-646-4692. And I look forward to chatting with anybody that wanted to come my direction. We'll just talk about how we can make an impact in this world of ours.
Well, thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us, Chris.
Thank you so much, Whitney. You're amazing. I appreciate your time.